All right, man. Thank you for returning. My name is Jeff Staten, and this is Pressing Toward the Mark. Tina Turner, prophetically, when I was a kid, asked this question: what does love have to do with it? It will be my attempt today to answer that question. Not by singing, though, because that would be sinful. It is my opinion, right, that at least Christians should have love as their foundation, the substrate upon which we do everything and say everything, the foundation upon which we make every decision, the foundation upon which how we react to, our responses to everything in life. And it is my opinion that the absence of love is the cause of all the strife that we have at this time or any time. Right? Let's get started, man. The absence of love, the true crisis of our time. For love. All right, man, let's get started. And let me say in the beginning, right now, is that I get it, right? I don't want you to misconstrue anything that I'm about to say in this video. I want you to understand from the beginning, I get it, right? There is a lot of logic and there's a lot of emotion attached to the things that are going on in our world right now. Right? And it is because of those intense logical and emotional moments that topics like love really isn't welcomed, right? It's diminished by our emotion, right? But I think that's the problem, right? But I get it, right? Go to Palestine right now. Go to Israel. And try to talk to someone about love right now. When you have men, women, and children being murdered right now, right? Go speak to a follower of Charlie Kirk. The last thing they want to hear right now is, let's love each other. Love is being diminished by our emotions and by what is logical, and it's being lost logically. Right? And the sad thing about it is that the love is lost amongst Christians. And that's confusing to me. How is that happening? Right? Look at, again, let's use Charlie Kirk's funeral as an example. A sea of Christians, right? But could you detect love from what these people were saying? Let's take, for instance, the president and Stephen Miller. Did you detect any love in their words? Again, I go back and I remind you, I understand the logic and the emotions. Are their words logical? Of course they are. Are their emotions logical? Of course it is, right? But can you detect love in what they're saying? Right? Let's jump over here. Bishop Jamal Harrison, in his sermon rebuking the black church for their support of Charlie Kirk. Right? Did you detect any love in his words? Again, I get the emotions. I get the logic behind his emotions, right? My question to you is, as a Christian, these are Christian representatives. Did you detect love in their words? Can you detect love in their emotions? And it's my opinion that it is the absence of love that's causing everything that's going crazy in this world right now. Love is being lost nowadays. Love is being lost in our politics. Love is lost in the way that we interact with each other. Love, unfortunately, is being lost even in our churches. And the sad thing about that is that we proclaim to be a Christian nation. We proclaim that it was God that inspired all the foundational documents of this country. We proclaim that it was God that inspired the forefathers of this country. Well, if it was God that inspired the forefathers, if God is truly the foundation of this country, then what should be most apparent and should be more apparent than anything else for a Christian nation? What should be our love, our behavior in love, our love actions. There should be a sign of love. And I ask you again, with understanding that we're supposed to be a Christian nation as a backdrop, do you detect love right now? When you turn on your TV, when you watch your socials, when it comes to politics, when it comes to social interactions, is it love that you detect amongst all of us as a nation? Because it is the absence of love that suggests that possibly, that maybe we were founded on love, and maybe we've fallen off that foundation, right? Let's look at a verse really quickly. Let's look at 1 John, the 4th chapter. 1 John, the 4th chapter, we're going to read the 7th verse through the 12th, but we're going to look at each verse individually, all right? 1 John 4, and we're going to start with the 7th verse. And it reads as follows. Beloved, let us love one another, for love is of God, and everyone that loveth is born of God and knoweth God. Now, you know where I'm going with this, right? You know where I'm going to be. There should be abundantly a showing, a sign of love from you if you claim to have a relationship with God. That should be most apparent in you, right? John even said to us that if you don't love, then you don't love God. You don't know God. So love is the sign of your relationship with God, right? Adam, through his disobedience, caused a rift between man and God, right? But Jesus, through his death, burial, and resurrection, returned us back into a loving relationship with God, right? And the telltale sign of that relationship between you and God is your love actions. The sign that you have, that what Jesus did was successful in you, is your love, right? Your relationship with God is represented by love. Why? Because God himself is love. Your relationship with God is not represented by how many scriptures you know. Your relationship with God is not represented by how fervently you're willing to proclaim Jesus the Messiah as your Savior. Your representation of your relationship with God is found in your love actions. There should be a sign of love in you by you. You ever met anyone that swears that they work out, right? They swear they've been working out for years, but yet there's a whole bunch of muffin top spilling over their belt. right? Why is that dubious? Why is their profession of working out dubious or strange? Because why? Because the telltale signs of working out is absent in that person, right? Joggers, they put on shorts, you can tell that they run. Their calves say he runs. Their quads says he runs. Right? You can profess forever about being pregnant, but there's telltale signs of your pregnancy. And likewise, your relationship with God, there's telltale signs that you have a relationship with God. Again, and that's shown through your love actions. All right? Let's look at verse 8. 1 John 4:8, and it reads as follows: He that loveth not knoweth not God, for God is love. I don't even have to. That was self-explanatory, right? It's simple and to the point. If you don't love, you don't know God. All right, let's go on to the 9th verse. The 9th verse says, In this was manifested the love of God toward us, because that God sent his only begotten Son into the world, that we might live through him. God displayed his love, right? Telltale signs. Again, there's no way to love and there not be some outward evidence of that love. God so loved the world, really? What is the outward evidence of that? The outward evidence of God's love toward us was Jesus the Messiah. The outward evidence of God's love toward us was the sacrificing of himself, so that the relationship between he and us would be returned. Love is obvious, friend. And it should be what you look for in a Christian's way of presenting themselves, a Christian's way of sharing their thoughts, a Christian's way of going about their lives. There should be an obvious outward indication of love in everything that they say and do. And I say it again, I invite you, friend, to go back to your favorite podcast where you got all these preachers and pastors hosting podcasts, and they share their idea and their beliefs about a myriad of things, right? And I would ask that before you even come to a conclusion as to whether or not you believe what they're saying, or whether you accept what they're saying, I ask that you sit back first and see, can you detect their relationship with God in what they're saying? Because if what they're saying is truly inspired through God, there should be an abundance of love. How can it not be? If God is love, then how can his words being expressed through you, how can your relationship with God not be expressed through what you say and do? Hearing pastors all over the place celebrating when Charlie Kirk was murdered. Was that love? Was that God-inspired relationship, information being shared in their celebratory actions? I heard one pastor a couple of weeks ago say that African Americans can come to my church, but they are bestial people. But they are bestial people. Was that love? Is that truly an expression of love by calling someone bestial? Is that truly an expression of love by celebrating the murder of another person? Do you want to know whether or not your pastor has a relationship with God? Look for the love sign. It's impossible not to. It's impossible to avoid having some type of love sign if you truly have a relationship with God, because John told us God is love, right? Let's go ahead to the 10th verse. The 10th verse reads as follows: Herein is love, not that we loved God, but that he loved us and sent his son to be the propitiation of sin. Again, John is saying in the 10th verse, you want to know the outward expression of love, the evidence of God's love towards us? Look at Jesus. Jesus was birthed out of love. And if Jesus is the first sign of love, then how can followers of Jesus behave not in a loving way? How is that possible? Go to the 11th verse. 11th verse says, Beloved, if God so loved us, we ought also love one another. I did a video sometimes back about what God is, right? And because at that time I was really struggling with the love walk, right? I really couldn't understand how God wanted us to love an enemy. And I said, you know what? Maybe the love that God is referring to in the Bible isn't the love that I'm thinking of. Should I have some type of positive affection toward these people who hate me? Should I truly, as an African American, truly love that pastor who believes I'm a beast? Right? Should I truly love a person that says simply because I'm black and he sees me in the cockpit of a plane, that he somehow questions my ability to fly that plane? Should I truly love a person who diminishes me because of phenotype? And I studied it, man, for a long time, looking for a way out, looking for a moment like, no, he really doesn't want us to love each other like that, right? Yes, love, but there's a nuance. There's a star to love, and if you look down at the bottom of the page, you'll find that no, people who hate you, you shouldn't love them as much as you think you should, because how crazy is that, right? But no, what I found is that the love that God is referring to in the Bible is just what you think it is. And God is expecting you to love, have a positive affection toward me. And I'm supposed to have a positive affection toward you if I am born of him. How can I not? How can I not have a positive affection toward you, even though you hate me, even though you would do me harm? Because, like John just said, because I am born of him, because I am born of love, because I am the byproduct of love, because my life is founded upon love, I can't help but love you. Right? I can't help but love the white supremacist. I can't help but love that person that would harm me. Why? Because I am born of it. My life is fueled by, the foundation of my being is love, because God is love. Do you understand what I'm trying to say to you? Out of your relationship with God, it demands you to love your enemy. Now, loving your enemy doesn't mean that you have to put up with, like, what someone does. I heard someone the other day listing all the negativity of the African American culture, right? The affinity for crime, the familiar problems, a lot of children born out of wedlock. He listed all the problems going on in the African American culture, and It doesn't matter. I'm not laughing because, at the problems in the African American community. I'm not laughing at that. There are some internal issues. But despite all the internal issues that is in every hood, despite all the internal issues that you find with every Shaniqua, Jamarquan on this planet, because of your relationship with God, because you were born of God, you have to love Jaquan and them. Despite how many swastikas that these people may have tattooed on their arms. And these people don't mind tatting swastikas, even police officers nowadays. Despite your affinity to harm me and dislike me, I still, because of being born of God, am demanded to love. Or the consequence is I don't have a relationship with God. I don't know God. All right, let's look at our last verse and the 12th verse and get on out of here. This is just part 1. I'm coming back again. This is going to be a series, love series. Let's look at the 12th verse, and it reads as follows: No man hath seen God at any time. If we love one another, God dwelleth in us, and his love is perfected in us. Now, there is a running theme in these verses, the 7th verse until the 12th verse. And that running theme is the God-love dynamic, the God-love relationship. That God, John says, God is love, right? And your relationship with God produces love in you, right? But John goes even further in the 12th verse, and he uses a little bit of logic, right? John says, you have never seen God before in your life, right? That there aren't any empirical evidence for God. No man has seen him. Verse 12 says, no man has seen him. But John says, but if you're interested in knowing whether or not God is, check your love. Right? Verse 12 says that if we love one another, then we know God dwelleth in us. So the evidence of God in us is our love. And that's what we've been saying the whole while. The evidence of God in you isn't how well you pray. The evidence of God isn't how large your church. The evidence of God isn't your willingness to beat up a gay person and kick out gay people in your churches. The evidence of God isn't your willingness to display your disdain at crime and family problems and whatever the political du jour is, right? Those aren't signs of your relationship with God. The sign of your relationship with God is found in your willingness to display love, right? And he goes even further in the 12th verse. John says, and his love is perfected in us. You don't just have a remedial relationship with God when you're walking in love. John says that your willingness to love is an indication of a perfected indwelling of God. Your willingness of love is a sign of a mature. That's what the word perfected means. It actually means mature. There's no such thing as perfection, right? But if you want to know if you are a mature follower of God, if you want to know if the relationship between you and God is remedial or mature, it's found in your willingness to love, your love actions, the sign of love in you. It's in your book. It's in your Bible. This love stuff isn't just some simple candy, insignificant element of Christianity. It's nothing. Love isn't nothing. It's everything. It's everything. If you are not operating in love, you do not have a relationship with God. It's as simple as that. And then if I were you, friend, I would use love as a litmus test to everything that everyone says. And I don't care how famous they are. I don't care how they speak to your logic, your logical mind. You know, white supremacists hate, therefore you should. Well, you test those words in the light of love. African Americans and all those babies, you test those words with the litmus test of love. Those Jews behave like, you test those words with the litmus test of love. Well, those Palestinians, that you test those words with the litmus test of love, because therein you'll find whether or not that person is speaking the heart of God. It's sad. It's sad. All across this country, there's a bunch of Christians behaving unlovingly, espousing non-loving behavior and thoughts. If you've ever had a question as to what the Antichrist is, I promise you can find it with the love litmus test. Again, and I'm getting out of here. Again, it doesn't mean you have to tolerate anything, right? It doesn't mean that you have to like the social problems we have in this country. It doesn't mean that you have to like all the political problems we're having right now. It doesn't mean that you have to put up with it, that you don't have to fight it in some way, that there shouldn't be any change, right? But love will dictate how, when, the manner in which you pursue those ends. Love will dictate how you treat an immigrant. Love will dictate how you treat a person that hates you. Love will create behavior that will indicate love in the way that you combat the social ills, in the way that you combat the political problems that we have in this country. Love will create behavior that will display God in you, that will display God in you to others. It's all about love. And if you get anything out of what I've said today, is that with all these speeches, with all these people online, and all the heightened and even frightening rhetoric that you hear on the socials and on TV, judge it amongst the light of love. Are they speaking in love right now? Just because the words are harsh and firm doesn't mean it's not love. Right? Just because you put somebody in jail doesn't mean you don't love them. Just because you separate yourself from a person doesn't mean you don't love them. Right? So we're not saying that you always have to speak with a soft voice because you love. But what I am saying is that love is obvious despite your tone, despite the decisions that you make, despite all that you do. There should be an obvious air of love in what you do. And that's how you know who you should follow and who you should not follow. If you can't detect the love, beloved, if you can't see the love, if you can't see God, which is the same way as saying if you can't see love, if you can't see God in what they're doing, then you shouldn't support it. And I don't care who it is. I don't care how big the church is. I don't care how wonderful their genes are in the pulpit. Right? It's all about love. And the absence of love is the source of all the ills of today. All right, man, I gotta go. I talked longer than I wanted to. But leave me some comments, man. Let me know what are your thoughts about this video, right? Fight me about it. I'm willing to fight you about love. I'm willing to fight you in love. I really believe that it is the source of all of our ills right now, the absence of love, right? Give me some indication where you are with love. What are your challenges? What are your thoughts? All of it, all right? Share the video, man, because somebody's struggling with their love walk. We've heard that word before, love walk, yeah? Somebody's struggling with it. And they will need to know that, just how important it is for them to achieve it. That it's not something that they should just push off to the side and forget about. You know what I mean? Just go ahead and be a pastor and you're struggling with love. That's crazy. I'm gonna go ahead and get married, but I'm having struggle loving. I'm gonna go ahead and be a politician, a Christian politician, but I have a problem with love. That's crazy. Right? Share this video. Maybe we can stop all these non-loving politicians. Yeah? Right, man. I gotta go. I say it every week. I mean it every week, including this one. I appreciate you showing up. My name is Jeff Staten, and this is Pressing Toward the Mark. One love.